Now we will look at the history of attacks on higher education. This is a graph showing the amount of successful cyber attacks on higher education institutions from 2000 to 2009, according to datalostdb.org. As you can see, it shows there were very few attacks from 2000 to 2004. However, the number skyrockets to 67 successful cyber attacks in 2005, an over 800% increase from 2004. The number continues to grow to 113 attacks in 2006, and then stays steady around 100 in 2007. There's another sharp increase in 2008 to 146 attacks, before a sharp decrease in 2009, down all the way to 86 attacks, the lowest number since 2005. Now this is a graph showing the trends and curves of the same data from datalostdb.org. The first inflection point occurs from 2004 to 2005, when the amount of attacks reported increased substantially from 8 attacks to 67 attacks. The rate continued fairly constantly until 2006, where another inflection point occurs, this time trending downwardly. There is yet another inflection point in 2007, when the attacks increased to their highest point to date in 2008, reaching 146 successful attacks. The last inflection point occurs from 2008 to 2009, when successful attacks on higher education takes a steep downward turn from 146 attacks to only 86 attacks. This graph shows the type of data targeted in attacks on higher education from 2000 to 2009. The most commonly targeted type of data was social security numbers. This is because social security numbers are one-stop shopping for criminals. The next most common was names and addresses, which was only slightly less than social security numbers. These two types combined to make up over 85% of the data targeted. Other types include date of birth, medical and financial information, account information, credit card numbers, email addresses, and other miscellaneous data. An important factor when trying to defend against anything is knowing what you are up against. This graph depicts the source of attacks on higher education, according to datalostdb.org. The most common attacks, as you may guess, are from sources that lie outside of the targeted institution. These are the normal hackers that typically probe and attack system vulnerabilities. The next two most common come from sources inside of the institution, both accidental and malicious. However, accidental incidents from within account for almost 5 times as many as malicious attacks from within. This pie chart shows the percentages of the different breaches categorized by type. The most frequent is simply stolen laptops, which account for roughly 20% of breaches. This clip shows just how easy it can be to steal a laptop. The next most common type of breach is general hacking, coming in at 16%. General web incidents, such as a professor accidentally posting sensitive information on the internet, make up 13% of these attacks. Fraud and social engineering comprise about 8% of breaches. However, physical theft or improper disposal of sensitive information accounts for roughly 55% of all breaches. This includes stolen hardware such as laptops or desktops, failing to properly dispose of documents or hard drives, loss or theft of tapes, documents, drives, and more. Based on these statistics, it becomes clear that universities need to implement policies to safeguard against physical threats as well as system vulnerabilities. This is a list of some of the major laws universities need to comply with in order to properly obtain, store, and use information that could potentially harm one's identity if compromised. Physical safeguards are just as important, if not more important, than system safeguards. Universities generally implement things such as locks for computers and the doors that house them, ID access controls, and video surveillance of computer labs. Almost all universities will need to implement antivirus software, firewalls, VPNs, and varying user privileges to properly protect against attacks and wetware. The following will highlight some of the attacks that have had the most impact at major universities. In 2008, tapes were stolen from the University of Miami, which contained over 2.1 million patients' social security numbers, names, addresses, and more. This was the most data ever stolen from a university. In 2006, UCLA's database was breached by a hacker and made off with about 800,000 people's names, addresses, and social security numbers. In 2007, a professor at Penn State published over 10,000 Marine social security numbers to his website, which was accessible via Google. These attacks show why there is a need to predict future trends in order to get a step ahead of the bad guys. A clue detection engine is one of the best ways to do this.